Geek out! Bleep blop bloop gamers, and welcome to another installment of the Video Game Archives. This installment we're going into 2007's Super Mario Galaxy, the first all-new Super Mario game for the Nintendo Wii. Best-selling 3D Mario game of all time, believe it or not. Yes, it outsold Super Mario 64, certainly outsold Super Mario Galaxy. Super Mario Sunshine. Yeah, this is my favorite Mario game. Zach, do you have any initial thoughts before we really dive into this one?
It's just a really dear game to me. I enjoy playing it. I had an absolute blast with it when it first came out.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game that I don't tend to buy video games brand new, but for this one, I mean, I absolutely, I got it on the. That was a game I got at launch. It was just for a franchise that was nearly, I guess at this point that was like 20 years old at this point. And in 3D for over 10. It was amazing how fresh the entire thing felt. And I don't quite know where. I don't know if it's just the overall quality, the love of like jumping from world to world, the kind of seamless co-op, but not really co-op, jump in and jump out with the co-pilot that could shoot the star bits. This is just a game that like completely reinvigorated my love for all things Nintendo. Especially after like I didn't mind Super Mario Sunshine, but there was something that wasn't quite there in the mix. And this is the game that kind of brought it all back to me.
We're also, in a strange sense, this starts to get pretty scary because you have these really great Mario titles and just knowing how the heck are they going to follow this? And they do every single time. And it's scary, but it's exciting.
Yeah, it's like the bar. I think the one thing that I don't necessarily agree with Nintendo's strategy in more recent years was the number of like new Super Mario Bros. Games that they kind of pumped out, because they pump out a lot, right?
Absolutely.
And they're all good. There's no bad new Super Mario Bros. Game, but there's something about their 3D titles, especially really starting with this one, where they're just like they're a cut above. There's something that there is that extra level of dedication, and it just like they're able to tap into that magic no matter how many times they seemingly go back to the well. It never feels tired. It always feels like a true labor of love. And I don't know, there's something, I mean, a lot of things in the Mario mythos come from this. The star bit, the Lumas, Rosalina, the idea of Luigi's back, because he isn't really in Sunshine, even though he doesn't really do much in this one. He has slightly different physics controls when you finally unlock everything in the game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you can still play. You still play as him, and it's nice to just be able to go back and forth between the two. And then he's always chatting it up with Mario. Has a much wider vocabulary.
He does. It's good to see him no longer wearing to see him take a break, at least for now, from using the poltergust to bust ghosts. It's a back to the basics, at least in terms of 3D for Mario, and it's super easy to follow plot. Bowser's back because that's what he does, and kidnaps. He's not the size of a kaiju this time, standard size Bowser. He kidnaps Princess Peach. They go into the galaxies. There's like black holes and stuff involved. It's just so much fun. Like what's your favorite world of all the different worlds in Super Mario Galaxy?
I am going to have to give it to the Freeze Flame Galaxy. I just thought it was a really cool concept of smashing together like a ice world and a fire world together because usually it's like, oh, they're their own separate worlds, and they each have like annoying levels in them. This one just mashes them together, and then you're constantly going back and forth between the two because of the gravity in the game. It's so weird saying that, but yeah, they were a lot of fun, especially like when you're using the ice power up and you're just ice skating and going really fast. It's so satisfying.
You were mentioning the gravity stuff. I think that's the big thing, the big gameplay mechanic here. And unlike say Flood, as much as we mentioned enjoying Flood in Super Mario Sunshine, it's not particularly the new mechanic is just it doesn't feel obtrusive. It's just so seamless how Nintendo had kind of, and apparently that was a concept that they had first developed when they had the Mario 128 prototype around 2000. The idea of the gravity controls and the spherical level design.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I enjoyed the more linear Mario titles. Not to saying that the non-linear titles are bad. It's just a personal preference. And this is a very linear 3D Mario game in the sense that with most of the galaxies, if you will, it's just there are these planetoids, and there's little objectives on every one. Usually it's, you go to this planetoid, flip a switch, a star appears, you launch on the star. You go to this planetoid, you defeat enemies probably, and then another launch star appears. You take that one, there's another planetoid, and that one will probably have the star at the end. So there's not really, it's not like Super Mario 64, for instance, where you can just take a shortcut and get to that star. This has a really specific way of going about it, and it totally works. And it's so great just watching Mario fly around because they totally have so much fun with the camera work and going for like these more cinematic shots of like, oh look, here comes Mario in for the landing, and then he sticks it every time. It's great.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, and there for me, like, no matter how many times and how long I've played this, there is no the what's it the blasting between planets, that sensation, or planetoids, never gets old for me. Like, it's like,
Yeah,
I still have like the biggest smile on my face whenever I do it. Yeah, it's just so like seamlessly fun. I mean, it truly is like, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm smiling just thinking about it. Yeah, there's something about Mario like flying like Superman, and I don't know if that's something that's been around since Super Mario World with the cape, with the Tanuki suit, or the raccoon tail in Super Mario Brothers 3, or the wing cap from Super Mario 64. Just the flying as Mario, and this game is all about flying as Mario, even if they are kind of guided flights from world to world. Is just there's a joy to it.
absolutely. I guess now we can talk about the power-ups. They were very creative with these. Unfortunately, some were not as widely used as others, which was disappointing. So, for instance, Boo Mario, very clever design, and it had a cool ability of being able to phase through walls. However, there's probably, I'd say, 2 or 3 stages out of like the 50 plus stages where you could really put it to use, and that was a bummer.
Yeah, and both of those stages are pretty similar too, right? Like, it's the same mechanic, just slightly remixed.
Yeah, I mean, your usual tropes of the ghost house, and there's moving platforms, and then maybe you have like a bunch of boos moving in a circle, and you want to try not to get hit by the circle. It's pretty standard stuff at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I'm a big fan of the B power up, the B suit, which I feel like is the first power up you get in the entire game, at least the first new one. That is, yeah. I mean, what's the other one? The spring suit.
Yeah, spring suit, and again, spring suit probably only had 2 stages, probably off the top of my head, and that one was a pain to control.
Yeah, no, just to get that precision jumping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah. If there's any shortcoming in Super Mario Sunshine, it's that it's so linear to the point where the power ups, the little add-ons within the game itself, feel a little more shoehorned in. It's just like, oh, how are they going to get the star this time? Oh, this way. Having said that, I don't know. Like this one strikes a balance in that it's not as difficult as Super Mario Sunshine, especially the challenge levels in Super Mario Sunshine, and it's certainly not as challenging as its sequel. This one is like the perfect mix between accessibility without being without being as like laughably easy as Super Mario Land or something like that, right?
Exactly. And the level design is just so clever and brilliant that I just didn't want it to end because I was always curious for what more they could throw at me. And then sure enough, it's just some crazy concept. And it's just like, how on earth did these developers think of that? Like, are they all in a room and it's just like it's one idea after the next, or are they just like throwing darts on the wall? I have no idea, but it's just they never run out, and it's phenomenal. One particular stage that I really enjoy is in the stages where Mario's rolling off a ball,
Oh yeah.
and you're using the tilt controls on the Wii remote. And what's really cool is that the faster you go, the more the music picks up. But then when you slow down, the music's like da 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 da. And I just thought that was so clever.
Something I think that doesn't get mentioned a lot either is that I think this is truly like one of Koji Kondo's best soundtracks.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, just the start with the Good Egg Galaxy is pretty much just like a opening cinematic. Like when you're playing the stage and listening to the music and watching Mario fly around, it feels like an interactive cutscene to me, even though it's far from it.
Yeah, I think the to that point, yeah, the flight is the kind of the more cutscene-y stuff, but it's still like you can still grab like star bits or even shoot star if you have somebody else playing, they can shoot the star bits. Or I guess you can too. Now that I think about it, I forget you can also shoot the star bits, but so can a potential player too. But yeah, there's just enough. I don't even want to call it like hand-holding, right? It's not like the easy mode that shows up in like New Super Mario Bros. Wii. It's like it's still like intuitive.
It's kind of like these are the controls. Here's what you'll be doing, and here's a taste of what's to come.
And I think that's why Good Egg Galaxy is my personal favorite world, because it's like it's perhaps the best. Like Nintendo is really good for the most part about having like those kind of prologue sections of the game. Everybody remembers World 1, Level 1, and World 1, Level 2 from Super Mario Bros. They always remember the first one, World 1, Level 1 from Super Mario Bros. 2, the first world in Super Mario Bros. 3, Yoshi's Island in Super Mario World. Bomb Battlefield is maybe not my favorite, but it's certainly the most iconic and most memorable world in all of Super Mario 64. And I think Good Egg Zone, I'm getting into Sonic. The Good Egg Galaxy is my favorite. Is just like it's the mission statement for the entire game, and it delivers everything perfectly.
Yeah, that's a really good point. When people memorize what a Mario game played like, they usually refer to the first stage in the game. And Good Egg Galaxy really sets the bar high for that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of like Mario games that maybe nobody really knows the first world so much from like Super Mario Sunshine, I suppose. But it's I guess what Delfino, like corrupted Delfino Plaza, but it's the best, man. It's so good. It's so good. One of my like low-key favorite worlds or favorite stages is where you have to guide the turtle shells underwater into the bone shark, which is terrifying but fun at the same time.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. The swim controls. We brought back swimming. Actually, come to think of it, it never really went anywhere. But these controls were absolutely fine. Like, there was water in the game, which you wouldn't think being in outer space, but yeah, he was able to traverse in 360-degree areas, and the stages were just as enjoyable as if you were running on land.
Yeah, I mean, there's something, I don't know, there's something just pure about the whole thing. And it's perhaps the most intuitive, like, swimming controls a Mario game has ever had. Also, something that may be lost today is this was like a pre-Wii Motion, Wiimote Plus world, right? Like, that hadn't come out. Like, that comes out with Wii Sports Resort, or not Wii Sports Resort. What's the first one to have that? Is it...
Sports Resort.
It is Sports Resort?
Yeah, the first have Wii Motion Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, and that comes out in like 2009, right? So, I'm trying to think. There's only like 3 games I remember that really took advantage of that. It was Wii Sports Resort, Red Steel 2, and
there might have been a Wii Play Plus, and I don't think it was as good as Wii Play.
Yeah.
Hang on, this is going to drive me nuts now.
I remember Skyward Sword had needed it as well.
Oh yeah, it was called Wii Play Motion.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, which is basically just like a tutorial / like primer for using that add-on. But even without that add-on, the original Super Mario, really both Super Mario Galaxies, because neither of them require it, is still so intuitive. It's a game that like effortlessly. I think a lot of complaints about Wii games, about not as great Wii games, is they kind of force the motion controls on you. And the thing about a lot of the first-party games, and even quite a few of the second-party games, is that they see the motion controls as more than just a gimmick. Like, it's an integral part of the gameplay. And I think that Super Mario Galaxy just seamlessly integrates that right into the title.
Yeah, the motion controls, they never really bothered me in this game. It was just like, sure, the launch star could have been easily replaced with a button press, but again, it never really bothered me. It was just like flick of the wrist, and then boom, you're flying across the galaxy. And it was, again, just, I could do that so many times, it never gets old. Oh, yeah. The other thing, too, is I would say maybe the pointer controls, I think that could probably have merit if you really want to scrutinize it. So for shooting star bits, I mean, it was just to give it something to do. Obviously, you could go throughout the game without shooting a single star bit. I mean, with the exception of the Lumas that create new stages for you to play. But shooting an enemy walking around was never crucial to getting the star. But with the pointer controls, like, for instance, there are the stages where you're in a bubble and then you're trying to get the gravity pools to navigate, to weave you through the stage. And these were just very challenging because it's just like you're weaving your way through and not trying to touch the walls, otherwise you'll fall in a black hole. And I would say that's probably the only instance where the Wii remote controls, like the motion and the IR sensor, that aspect is kind of forced on a player. But even then, it's just it's a stage that you can easily opt out.
Right. You know, while we're on the topic, what would you say is the weakest element of the entire game overall?
Weakest element. Goodness. I mean,
because we've sung its sweet praises for over 15 minutes now.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably just give it to like the power-ups that are short-lived. Otherwise, it was just like when I got this game, like I just like blitzed through it and I played every single stage and I got every single green star and I did all the comets. And like it was actually one of the first Mario games where I actually wanted to 100% it because I felt that the extra rewards had so much to offer. And then going through it as Luigi was just a nice treat to have.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just like, oh, yeah, you had fun with it. It's like New Game Plus, kind of, but a little different. Yeah, and unlike, say, Super Mario 64 or Super Mario Sunshine, 100%ing Super Mario Galaxy actually felt doable.
Exactly.
Like, there's some stuff that is so frustrating in those other two, the first two, like, 3D Mario games, where you're like, you know what, I'm good. I don't have to try. But with Super Mario,
exactly. So for some of the older 3D Mario titles, like you're going through a stage and it's frustrating, and then there are some where it's like, I am glad I never had to play this stage again. Super Mario Galaxy doesn't have that, and that's very nice. Like, sure, there are some challenging stages, but you get more rewarded with like the yes, I beat it. Oh my gosh, that was so hard, rather than like, oh my god, never again.
Yeah, no, it's everything is within reach. If you screw up in Super Mario Galaxy, chances are you're never like, well, that's just like unfair level design or something, or the cameras doesn't work. The cameras don't work right. It's if when you screw up in Super Mario Galaxy, you generally speaking know why. You're like, oh, I could have done that. I should have timed that better, or oh, clearly that way doesn't work. So let me try it this way. It's very accessible without hand holding.
Definitely. Okay, another thing that we need to touch on is so Rosalina was introduced to this game, and she's been introduced in future Mario titles after that, and that's great because we haven't really gotten a new character since Mario Tennis, and usually it's always been new enemies to introduce, like new little grunts that you can jump on, but now we got like a completely brand new character, and her name's Rosalina, and she watches the cosmos. And the other thing, too, is that her origin story, if you will, when she does story time with the Lumas, she has a surprisingly dark story. It takes a really dark turn.
Yeah, and I do like the idea of like resurrection that kind of plays into the end of the game. But something I really like about Rosalina is, unlike Peach or Daisy, who are introduced really primarily as love interests, you never get that with Rosalina. She's just a strong female character that exists in the Mario universe.
Exactly, and they don't really, um, and that continues to be the case with current Mario titles. I think the one time where it feels like a gut punch to Rosalina is in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, well, Mario Kart 8, where they introduced Baby Rosalina, because it's like, really? We kind of liked Rosalina because she didn't have like a baby character that was obligatory and stuff, but otherwise, yeah, she's a welcome addition.
Yeah, just the idea that, like, hey, maybe we don't need baby variants of all our main characters. Like Nintendo's like, they even have like, what's that track, Baby Park, where it's like, hey, it's the same track 8 times. Enjoy. Yeah, I mean, I would tell you that, or I would argue that, yeah, the most lasting contribution to the wider Mario mythos from the first Super Mario Galaxy is the introduction of Rosalina. Everything else is pretty much just Mario in space, which is awesome, but that's that's about it.
We're also getting some great voice work by Charles Martinet, especially like in the beginning when Mushroom Kingdom during the Star Festival is getting wrecked, and then he's just like having Mario running and then diving comets that are falling down, dodging comets that are falling down. It's away from the traditional, like, good job and woohoo.
Yeah, it's very apocalyptic. If you think about it. It's Armageddon. Armageddon comes to the Mushroom Kingdom in all it needs is Bruce Willis to blow up the asteroid, and we're saved. But do you have any final thoughts on Super Mario Galaxy, Zach?
I mean, I love this game. I really hope that it gets ported to a console down the road. I mean, if it doesn't, the Wii is sold like gangbusters and is a pop culture phenomenon. So definitely fire this one up if you don't own it yet. You can find it a Nintendo Selects version of it for dirt cheap. It's definitely a pleasure to play.
And if you have a Wii U, you can actually you can download it on the Nintendo eShop channel too.
That's it.
So yeah, again, we'll be. How do you want to play this? Do you want to do New Super Mario Bros. Wii next, which is technically the one released next, or do you want to do Super? Yeah. Would you do that, or would you do Super Mario Galaxy 2 next?
So yeah, I'm just looking at the little timeline. So New Super Mario Bros. Wii is technically next, so I say we could do that next.
Okay. Well, you heard it here.
There's a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
It's just weird in like the order that we're tackling it now, because it's just like a sequel to this, sequel to that.
Yeah, it's kind of chopped and screwed. But yeah, so this has been another installment of the Video Game Archives. I'm Sam.
I'm Zach.
Keep playing. This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.